Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is finally here, the Europa League final, Manchester United's biggest game of the season against Spurs and Postecoglou's Spurs, who in this season alone have beaten us three times. Once in the Carabao Cup to knock us out, and twice in the league, home and away. Now, you can look at it how you want it, but we are both laying at the bottom of the Premier League table, 16th and 17th respectively. How we are in a Europa League final against them, that is a mystery that is still being debated and discussed. We have quite a few things to get into for this final. There is massive news in terms of the squad, Yoro, Delo, and Xerxes, all in training and with the first team as we expected. But will they be playing in this particular final? I don't think they'll be starting. All three of them, Delo, Yoro, Xerxes, won't be starting. But having them in the squad and maybe able to come on in the second half is a huge boost, considering we already have key players fit in the likes of Shaw, Bruno, Casemiro, Mount, etc., Maguire, who has become a key player for us of late, not just in the team, but more so in the Europa League this season. Now, Spurs do have quite a few players missing for this game, the likes of James Madison, Pape Matesar, Bergval, and Kulisevsky all will not be available for this final. And the rest of the team, with Werner and Sergio Regulon being ineligible to play because they were not registered for the group stages, their team, you would say, is missing probably only Kulusevski and maybe Sa should he start. Bergval also has done well when playing for Spurs in his moments, but the rest of the team, you would expect the likes of Son, Sergio Romero, Bentancur, Dominic Solanke, etc. These players, Brennan Johnson, all to be ready for this final. Now, I certainly do not want to lose this final. Let's be frank and honest about that. We can't be losing to a team that is known for not winning trophies. And there is the possibility of them perhaps not winning us in the final because they already beat us throughout the season. But in reality, this is a European game. And Manchester United have been quite good in Europe this season. We didn't start our European campaign quite well with Ten Hag. We drew quite a few games. We only won 1-0, 2-1, etc. But as soon as Amarim came in, you could see there was a change, especially in that first game against Bodo Glimt. Ironically, Bodo Glimt could have been our opponents for the final if they had beaten Spurs in the semi final. But nonetheless, we found ourselves getting better as the Europa League campaign went on. We started looking like a team that can score goals, that can defend well, that is good in transitions. And these are all things that Amarim wants to have the team improve upon. But in the league, we know the story there. We simply are not good enough. We always found ourselves either losing or drawing or struggling to win or fighting probably at our most to win. And Amorim said that in the Europa League, we are much better. The players have more time to think, more decision making can be done because of the lack of intensity and the lack of physicality than what the Premier League has. But in my opinion, for this game, we can't rule out the factor that Spurs will be confident because they've beaten us three times this season. They will be confident knowing that if they do put us under pressure, there is the possibility that we can concede goals. We've shown that in the Premier League. We've shown it against Premier League teams, as a matter of fact. But we've also shown it in the Europa League, most notably the game against Lyon, where we were in the lead, but then again, we conceded quite a few goals to be in a losing position. And fortunately, we fought hard and we won the game. Of course, we know that epic night with Maguire scoring the winner. But for this game, Spurs are not going to be changing the way that they play. Amorim said that, and Ange Postecoglou is very stern and stubborn in the way he plays with his high line that is literally almost on the halfway line, and they try and camp in the opposition half. They leave so much space in behind with the formation that they play being a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1, and at times a 4-3-3 when trying to defend. We know that they have pace on the transition. We know that they are very good at set pieces and will try to capitalize on that. And that is why we need to be ready for anything that Spurs want to throw at us. We know that they are very good when it comes to delivering crosses into the box, and the dynamic movement between Son, Solanke, etc., and Odebear, as well as another player that I forgot to mention. They have movement, they have energy on the ball, they can play those passes in between each other, but they most likely will like to counter with a lot of pace and with a lot of purpose. Try and be direct when they do win the ball back, either it be deep in their own half or if they can do so high up the area. Now, of course, for Manchester United, for Amorim, it's good to have quite a few players back for this particular game. But who he goes with as a starting 11, he needs to obviously look at the game in two ways. One, to try and control the game, firstly, especially in that midfield battle, but also try to be intense in terms of trying to win the ball, put Spurs under pressure. As we know, they do have players that can, crumble under a bit of pressure. So we should be able to get in behind them, in my opinion, in the second half when the defenders are a bit more tired. But in the first half, let's try and have more control of the game. Let's try and keep possession of the ball. And we can do that. We have the players that are technically good enough to keep the ball on the ground and try and play through a Spurs press and then play a penetrative pass through to the back. Now, for me, Onana will obviously start in goal. I think that would be the case. Back three, Maguire, Mazraoui, and Shaw being the left centre back, Mazraoui right centre back, and of course, Maguire centre back. I don't think Yoro will be starting this game, but a very good option to have to bring on in the second half, or if need be, if there is an injury. Ahmad at right wing back, I think that is his best position and is most potent there with more space in a wide position. So I think he must play right wing back. To win the midfield battle, Casemiro and Ugarte for a bit of grit, a bit of physicality in the midfield, but also to allow for good defensive screening for the likes of Maguire, Shaw, and of course Mazraoui. Dogo, left wing back, I don't think there's any complaints about that. And the front three for me, Mount, Bruno, and Højlund. Yes, I said Xerxes is back, but he won't be starting this game. I want Mount to start with Bruno because let's win the midfield battle. Let's keep possession of the ball with Mount, Bruno, Casemiro, Dogo, and Ahmad. Shaw, from the back, Mazraoui. These are players that are good on the ball technically, can keep possession. You can trust them with the ball at their feet. And let's have more ball possession in order to stifle any type of attack with pace that Spurs would like to give us with. And of course, if we have the ball, we won't be giving away free kicks to allow for them to have set piece opportunities, which they are dangerous from. So with that team being the team to start with, it will help us keep the ball and win the midfield battle and allow us to dictate the game and dictate the tempo. And of course, in the second half, you have Mainu, you have the likes of Garnacho that can come on and change the game. You have Talo, who can also come on to be a bit more aggressive, in the attack or even in defense if you want the extra player on just to cover a certain area. There is options for Amorim. He can change the game with those options. But of course, let's try and control the game. Let's try and be that team and impose ourselves onto Spurs so that we can be the team that is dominant. But on the other hand, I also don't care how we win the game. If we win it on penalties, I don't care. If we win the game 1-0, I don't care. If we go to the final and we smash them 3-4-0, fantastic. But I still won't care. All we have to do is win the game at all costs. We must win. We cannot be losing to Spurs who have been trophyless, who are the mean when it comes to clubs that don't win trophies. It's literally Spurs. We cannot lose to Spurs. I don't think Amorim will get sacked even if we do lose to Spurs, but we cannot lose to Spurs. I do not want to lose to Spurs. We have to win the Europa League this season, not just because of the opportunity of us getting into the Champions League via winning the Europa League, but only for the sake and for the factor that Manchester United always must be winning trophies. Thank you for joining me in the preview. drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section who you would like to start in this game, what you think will happen in this game, and of course, what your score prediction is. Have a wonderful day further. Enjoy the Europa League final. Till we see each other again soon, and hopefully Man United are Europa League champions for the 2024-2025 season. Till we see each other again soon, Red Devils. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.